Australia, we are pushing for renewable energy, and renewable energy is skyrocketing here. Literally more than 1,000 batteries installed every day. I mean, 35% of all homes have solar panels on them. It's literally taking over renewable energy in Australia. The government has committed to net zero. But interestingly, Australia ranks third in the world for new coal mines. China just hit peak coal and it's now trending down. Coal use worldwide is trending down. Australia, though, is kind of addicted to coal. We're in love with the money. But it's a short term, it's really a short term deal. Long term, this is probably going to hurt us. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. Great to have you with us. Australia ranks third in the world after only China and India for the amount of new coal mines under development and has captured 1/3 of the global market for metallurgical coal despite its climate commitments, says a new report. The report by Global Energy Monitor found new coal mining capacity worldwide fell to its lowest point in a decade in 2024, with estimates of 850 new mines globally. But the bulk of these new mines, 90%, were concentrated in 4 countries. 90% were Russia, Australia, China, and India, with Australia in third place. Of these, the vast majority of new coal capacity was planned for China, with 1,350 billion tonnes that could be mined, potentially. Don't know. We'll see. Followed by India with 329 million tonnes, and Australia with a pretty big number of 165 million tonnes. In total, the output of planned new coal mines amounted to about 1,942 billion tonnes of coal per year globally. Per year. 1,942 billion tonnes of coal per year globally, with half of this amount in the early stages of planning. Australia accounted for around 7% of proposed new coal mines globally, with nearly 2/3, 58%, already approved and already under construction. The remaining proposals are still within early planning stages and are vulnerable to cancellation. Now, unfortunately, a lot of this coal being mined in Russia, China, and India is dirty coal. It's not metallurgical coal. It's low quality. It's very, very polluting. Queensland was home to the majority of new proposals here in Australia, with the northern state planning to produce 124 million tonnes of coal every year, and New South Wales planning to dig up 41 million tonnes. The report, however, said that new planned coal mines in Australia were at risk of becoming stranded assets, where investors could potentially lose billions of dollars. Australia reported about 89% of its metallurgical coal production in 2022-2023, with China and India being the main buyers. But it noticed both countries were moving away from reliance on Australian metallurgical coal or were planning to increase their own domestic production. Renew Economy says this creates a risk that early stage metallurgical coal projects in Australia may be shelved or cancelled due to declining international demand, and there could be huge losses. It also noted domestic coal consumption for electricity generation was falling worldwide, with Australia pledging at COP29 not to open new coal power plants and solar and wind growing to take up more of the country's energy grid. In fact, Australia is now at nearly 50% renewables, and by the end of this decade, we'll hit 80%. So who exactly is going to buy all this coal? Well, before I get to that, here's what the report also said. In light of these factors, many of the proposed thermal coal projects may face a risk of becoming stranded assets. Should just the 296 projects under construction globally enter production within the next few years, they would add 6 megatons of methane emissions a year once operational. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas that is 82 times as powerful as carbon dioxide over a 20-year period. China accounts for 4/5 of projected emissions from new coal mines, with Australia ranked second. If the 58 proposed projects in Australia under planning were built, they would add a huge amount of pollution. Those projects already under construction would lock in an additional 0.1 MT per year. And to be honest, these numbers are huge. The reason why is this. Emissions from surface or open pit coal mining have often been overlooked due to their comparatively smaller share. However, aircraft-based measurements have shown that methane emissions from a major open pit coal mine in Australia were 3 to 8 times higher than reported. With a substantial volume of coal mining capacity still in the development pipeline, moving forward with these projects would only move progress further away from achieving global climate targets, the report said. It's worth giving some context here. Last year, China's coal power plant approvals fell by 93%. So there are still coal power plants being built in China. However, at the same time, the number of renewables being built in China far outweighs the coal power plants under construction. They're building the equivalent of 5 nuclear power plants worth of renewables every week. That is just insane. However, this coal is an issue. I should say, though, this year, within the last 3 months, China has hit peak coal. In fact, the world has hit peak coal. In spite of the fact that India's coal use is increasing, everywhere else, coal use is actually beginning to decline. In some places slowly, in other places very quickly. But the issue of stranded assets is a big one. You want to make damn sure your superannuation, your 401k, your retirement income is not invested in coal. The America's largest coal company, it's well known they went bankrupt around 5 years ago. This can happen to anyone, and it happens very quickly. Demand can go down very, very quickly. So really, I think my takeaway here is just be careful. Be careful about where your money is invested. Be careful about what you're actually going to invest your money in the future. If it sounds too good to be true, this new coal mine sounds awesome and you're going to invest in this company, they're going to do really, really well. Often I think you'll find if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. However, I do think Australia, approving all these new coal mines, I think it's a huge risk. And often there is government funding in these initiatives, in these businesses, and it could provide a major reason for massive losses, for the economy really suffering if a lot of these projects actually end up being stranded assets.